There once was a tiny planet between Mercury and the Sun. Its gravitational pull made Mercury wobble a little, and all the Newton fans in the scientific societies at that time, also known as everyone, didn't realize it was fake news until they were long gone and Einstein had come along and explained the unexplained wobbling with the general theory of relativity. Relativity here being a topic placed on a shelf for make later videos. A shelf, fortunately, not as stacked as my see later videos on different video platforms. I have no idea when I'm ever gonna get to the end of that. Before Einstein entered the scene, astronomers were in constant search for that planet that just had to reside somewhere in between Mercury and the Sun, and without even witnessing any evidence of its existence, they still gave it a name: Vulcan. A fair name. A planet that close to the Sun would have to be some hellish outpost, engulfed in constant eruptions of skyrocketing lava streams all over. But it wasn't real. It never existed. Only in the minds of those who wanted it to be real. So, have you ever come across a thing you just wanted to be real? You saw this half meme, half news story that may have been derived from an actual fact. Something that tickled either your good side or bad side, hoping for victory, but at the same time hoping your internet enemies sat there and cried like babies, regretting their sinful ways. Well, then you are the perfect target for fake news, which probably means every single one of us. I hate myself every time I fall for some stupid, overblown, half-truth thing that I took as fact, when I should have done more research, even beyond the fact-checker's realm. For who really fact-checks them? How do I know the food I eat is really healthy for me, if the manufacturer itself is financing a group of fact-checkers fact-checking the healthiness of their food? I've come to learn what an absolute load of work it is to navigate the world of facts after the internet came along. Of course, it took time in the good old days too, because we had to go to libraries, read a bunch of books, magazines, news articles, and so on. But you could set it up more methodically. That's not easy when you get hundreds of suggestions in a search on the internet, and it can lead you into a stressful, eye-soaring rabbit hole that brings you back to the search page, none the wiser. Watching videos that takes forever to get to the point, and you realize you just wasted 15 minutes of your life watching it, and you question why it had so many views in the first place. Like I am now wasting your time. I just wanted this video to be about Vulcan. Not that fake planet, but a little less fake, but still imaginary planet, Vulcan, in the Star Trek universe. Mr. Spock's homeworld. And imagine a day watching Vulcan news, and what that would look like and sound like. But let's have some Vulcan come read us our news stories instead, since I don't feel the need to be sued by anyone for reimagining the Vulcan homeworld, even if this video only gets one view. Maybe I can call it a fan video. That'll work. Here we go. This is the Vulcan news. These are the exact news. This is exactly what happened the last hour in all 24 time zones of Earth, which counts for one day in total, even if just perceived as 1 hour of every inhabitant of each time zone. If we had called it the yesterday news, we would have to take into consideration that each time zone experiences a day in their own specific timeline, and that would eschew the innate perfection policy of the Vulcan news. Policy in itself being a derivative of politics, and, forget we said that, politics is opinion charged, and this statement led itself into a non sequitur position. But you can always come back to the Vulcan news and find that we actually did make such a statement, and we would never deny it. Let us get into the news. But let me first start off with a humor procedure to connect with you humans by saying that I do not like lettuce. Also, profanities uttered by people in events will be translated to profanity, like, go profanity yourself. This is to keep the emotional state of the viewer and listener as balanced as possible, as so to be able to let your cortex adapt itself optimally to the news. And also, let's reflect upon the word news as well, as it isn't relaying events that is happening at this exact moment. Even the word relay means it has an innate delay to it. But if it didn't, the only way instant transmission would be possible was if the entirety of Earth was surveilled 24/7 in all time zones, which we Vulcans certainly could do, but are not doing. Yet. And I was watching a particular event, and my words came out in the same instant as the event played out. Then, and only then, could we call it news. Which is why we are officially doing a name change from Vulcan News to the Vulcan Report. Then again, as I have not yet been able to report anything going on in any time zones, I am only reporting on my continuous reflections, and then it is still appropriate to call it news. Which tells us that the word news in itself has an innate flaw connected to it, because the delay in transfer of the broadcast as it travels from my mouth and is translated into signals via the microphone through a bundle of wires, switches, through air as electromagnetic waves, then back to switches, wires, and into your listening device, through the air as sound waves across your living room or wherever you prefer to listen to the news, into your air canal, hitting the tympanic membrane, setting in action inner air levers so to hit the cochlea, triggering a sound wave inside the basilar membrane, and then gets picked up by the auditory nerve, travels through the thalamus into one part of your cortex to be read, and on to allow another part of your cortex to have an opinion about it. And all this counts for quite a few milliseconds, so we should indeed call it the olds instead of the news. And while we're at it, hold on. I'm getting a message in my ear. I am being told we are out of time, which I perceive to be a flawed statement, as time will not run out until after the great dark energy reversal forces the universe back to a state of singularity in 1,486,900 and... I'm getting a new message on my ear. Can you, for God's sake, profanity the profanity up, you nitpicking profanity. Good example of how I now reported on something I just witnessed. This is the Vulcan Report. Was. Live long and prosper. Have an exceptional day, and keep in mind how hard it is to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But a small adaptation to a Vulcan-style reporting could be a good thing. Imagine at least having a completely unbiased staff reporting whatever happens. Someone would for sure get offended, but never a Vulcan. They bury that stuff deep, deep, deep inside. Which is a good thing, I think. Perhaps. Perhaps not.